Doesn't matter if you are a current student at a public institution in Canada, doesn't matter even if you are studying masters or PhD, and doesn't matter if you are expecting a 3 years of PGWP after completing your studies in Canada. Everything will change if this new proposal comes into act. And it all depends on the 8 critical questions IRCC is asking the provincial authorities and the public institutions. And in this video, we will be discussing those 8 key questions which will decide your future in Canada. If you're new here, hi, I'm Raj, a data enthusiast who loves to break down every bit of information when it comes to Canadian immigration. So do like and subscribe if you like to see these kind of videos. Now, before jumping into the question, let's set the stage. Because without that, there is no use of understanding the proposed PGWP changes. Government of Canada has observed over the years that there has been a dramatic shift in the choice of courses of international students with the labor market needs. But when the students graduate, they struggle to get the job as they do not match the labor market needs. And on the other hand, the businesses still struggle to find the right talent despite of millions of temporary workers residing in the country. And IRCC wants to change that. As you might already know, earlier this year, IRCC has indicated that they want to reduce the population of temporary residents by either promoting them to permanent residents or departing them from the country. And one of the immediate area for them to look out is definitely the infamous PGWP. If you know, as a design of PGWP, it is exempted from LMIA because it's an open work permit given by the government and you can choose to work for any employer in Canada. But that does not solve the labor shortage problem of Canada. So recently, IRCC has done something called NOC CIP mapping. As a part of this mapping process, they have connected all the courses from the listed DLI institutions to the NOC codes. And by now, they already know which of these NOC codes are in demand by the provinces and by the businesses in Canada. Because they are already focusing on these priorities by doing category-based draws. As a next lethal step in the immigration system, they are asking 8 critical questions to these DLI institutions and the provinces. And they are mostly about reducing PGWPs or not giving the PGWPs at all, or if giving PGWPs, mapping them strictly to the demands. So without any further ado, let's dive into these questions and I will provide my views on them. So the first question is, if PGWP eligibility were restricted based solely on the occupation in shortage and corresponding program of studies, which occupation should be included based on the needs in your area? Please indicate if there are any occupations in shortage that should be or have been reflected in the mapping document along with your rationale. So basically, they are saying that if a PGWP eligibility was restricted, that means they are trying to restrict the PGWP's eligibility solely on the shortage of the occupations which is needed by a particular province. So it might be possible that they want to restrict the PGWP given depending on the province and depending on the institutions as well as depending on the job market of that particular province only. So you might no longer be able to get a PGWP if you are doing the same course in a different province, because they want to reflect these changes into the mapping document and they are asking if there are any particular occupations which they want to add it into the mapping document or not. And also the province will have to provide the rationale for that. Let's go to the next question. What if any cohort should be exempted from these changes such as francophone students or graduate degree programs or others? Please indicate the rationale. Now, as I said earlier, this question is definitely lethal, not for the diploma students or not for the francophone students, but also for the people who are doing their masters and PhDs, because they are asking if there should be any exemption given to the students who are doing a particular course or who are coming from a different community like francophone community, or people who are doing a graduate program like masters. Should they be exempted from giving these mapping based PGWP, or they should be given PGWP just because they have done a master's from an institution in Canada? Let's go to the third question. Should international students be required to demonstrate proof of a job offer aligned with the occupational shortage list in order to hold a PGWP beyond 1 year? That means it says that maybe the PGWP they are planning to allocate, which should be general, would be for 1 year, and after that 1 year, to extend that PGWP, they might want those international students who are given PGWP to demonstrate that they have a job offer or they're already working at a job which is aligned with the provincial expectation of the shortage, which means that the labor market needs. So let's say if you're working on a PGWP for 1 year and you haven't got a job, let's say you're doing some job in a retail industry or you're doing job at a food sector, but that is already saturated and the demand is in construction or the demand is in healthcare or a demand is in tech, and if you don't have that job, you might not be able to extend your PGWP in future. Let's look at next question. Should any other eligibility criteria, let's say language, provincial support or extra, apart from a job offer, be applied to PGWP holders seeking to extend their permit past 1 year? So that means again this re-emphasizes on the process that they are planning to give 1 year of PGWP without any restrictions, but they won't extend that PGWP beyond 1 year if someone is not meeting the criteria. So to extend that question, once again they are asking if they want to add only the job offer to the criteria or they would want to add other things as well to make it more stricter, let's say a minimum language score or maybe a provincial support like what the Ontario is giving, or the employer support apart from the job offer, as they said. This can become even harder if this has been applied, and they want to make it very specific to the provinces, so it might change or vary between provinces to provinces, and you want to make sure that if you're coming in future to Canada, that you know about all these things before even you apply for a particular institution in Canada. Now, if this video is helpful so far, I would really appreciate if you could like this video, as it will help others find this video and can be guided if they are planning to apply for an institution or a college in Canada. Now let's continue to the fifth question. What is your view for applying these labor market based changes to PGWP eligibility to all graduates upon announcement this year, rather than grandfathering students who are already studying in Canada at the time of implementation? What? With this question, they are saying that if they want to implement these changes, they don't want to spare the current students, which means that if you are currently studying in Canada at an institutions at a particular provinces, then you might not be getting PGWP based on certain criteria. Or if you are getting PGWP, you might only be getting it for 1 year instead of 3 years. Is this real? Well, this question says it's all. That they are asking the provinces if they should be grandfathering the students who are already studying in Canada or not. Let's go to the sixth question. How often should the occupational shortages be revised, and at what point thereafter should it be applied to students whose study is underway? Wow, just wow. Because they are very much determined on creating this mapping of occupation with the PGWP is granted. They want to see how often they would want to review it, whether they want to review it on 6 months basis or on annual basis, and how often they want to apply it to the students who are already studying that courses, which means imagine you are studying something and literally you don't even know whether you will be getting a PGWP beyond 1 year or not. I don't know what you call it, but I would call it crazy, because you cannot trust the occupation shortage list. You cannot trust the studies to continue work in Canada. That means you cannot trust the immigration system to be fair with you. It totally depends on the province you live, on the course you take. Of course, if you are taking courses which are already in demand and Canada has tons of time shown interest on that, that means the trades courses, the health courses, the tech courses, it's good. But let's say if you are doing MBA, let's say if you are doing some accounting diploma, let's say if you are taking those infamous international business course, you never know if you are going to get a PGWP or not, and it's real. Let's go to the next question. Do changes to the PGWP being explored align with the profile of candidates you would like to remain working in your jurisdiction in longer term? That means they want to compare this mapping document and want to ask if the current profile of candidates, which means the people who are already working in your province, people who already have shown interest through the expression of interest in various provinces in Canada, do they align with the mapping document, and would province want to keep them working longer term? Well, I don't exactly know what they mean out of this, but it seems like they want to see if they can map this document with the current people in the pool so that they are not hurt. Because let's say if you already are working already for 1 year and they are changing this process, you might not know what's going to happen because provinces might already know whom they want, and if they do not match with the mapping document they have proposed, provinces might want to raise some voices here, right? And the last question here is your PNP positioned to offer a viable pathway to permanent residency for international graduates with job offer in these key sectors? Which means they are mentioning some key sectors for which they want to make sure that there is a viable pathway to PR. Are there any gaps between the labor market needs you have identified and your PNP existing streams? That means they want to ask them if the current labor market needs that the province has and the current existing PNP streams that the province has, are there any gaps in them which they might want to correct it before these new changes are rolled out? Or will any PNP streams amendment be required to ensure that they remain responsive to the graduates and PGWP holders in specific occupations like regulated occupations? That means if the PNP streams or the provinces wants to change these PNP streams to make sure that they align with the PGWP changes or they align with the labor market needs, that means they want to go so specific in this particular case that they don't want people to get permanent residency if they are not aligned with the labor market needs. They might be asking that you change your PNP streams in a way that there are no general draws, is what I can see from here. So people out there who are trying to come to Canada, people out there who are already studying in Canada, all the best, because if you will again not take this seriously, if you will take any random courses which are not aligned with the labor market needs of Canada, you will not be spared. And the IRCC is very tough. They have already decided what they want to do. They are just aligning the provinces and the DLI institutions so they are not impacted while making this decision and making this a rule. And keep me posted if you think that at any point of time you want some information or you want to get to know more about your specific case, feel free to reach out. And please let me know in the comments down below if this particular change makes sense to you, will it affect to you or your family members, and how fair is this change. That's all for now. All the best, and I will see you in the next one.